What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another one. Should you start a dumpster business in 2024? Now, I've made this video in 2023 and maybe 2022 and 2021, but the reasons you should or should not get into the dumpster business have changed, and we're going to get into that in this video. The overall answer to should you start a dumpster business in 2024 is yes. The world is changing over the last 20, 30 years. Service-based businesses and businesses like the dumpster business there's a lot less people willing to do those types of jobs. The younger generations don't look at these businesses the same as the older generations. They look at jobs and businesses like this as they're dirty and just not glamorous, sometimes maybe even embarrassing, and things like that. A lot of the younger generations, and you'll hear this on the news and stuff like that, is that the middle class is disappearing. The middle class is dying, but I think a lot of the reason for that is because people are not willing to do those jobs that used to be middle class and blue collar, like the dumpster business. I think also one reason why it is good to get into the dumpster business is because a lot of your customers are less willing to do things that they used to do for themselves. And some of that comes down to even loading a dumpster. That's why junk removal has gotten so big. So these are some of the reasons why I think construction and the dumpster business and businesses similar to that are a great thing to get into, because there's less people willing to do those jobs. This is also different when hiring people, and growing your dumpster business is going to be a little bit harder to find good employees that are willing to do that work for, not $150,000 a year. I think all of that being said, that leaves us, people that are willing to do these type jobs, that gives us a big opportunity to create something. And whether I don't know exactly what your expectations are in the dumpster business, but there is good money to be made if you're willing to get your hands a little bit dirty. All right, now I'm going to ask you some questions. These are kind of basic questions if you're looking to get into the dumpster business. And if you answer no to these questions, any of these questions, the dumpster business just might not be right for you. Now, if you do answer no to some of these questions, that does not mean that you can't change your answer with a little bit of knowledge or just a change in your mindset. Do you have good work ethic? Are you willing to get up in the morning and potentially go work all day for a little bit of money? Are you driven? Are you driven by yourself? Are you able to hold yourself accountable and be consistent and put in the work every single day without somebody telling you to do it, because essentially you would be your own boss? Are you willing to take a big risk and live with that decision? I think a lot of people take big risks, and as soon as things get tough, they quit. Do you get discouraged and frustrated easily? If you do, this business might not be for you. Are you willing to push through the hard times no matter what? There will be hard times, and there will be times that you get frustrated and feel like quitting. Are you willing to push through those times? Are you willing to work with people? Because this business is about people. You are working with people on a daily basis. You have to be able to communicate with people. That's very, very important. Are you able to answer your phone and emails and be consistent with that type of stuff? Because that is very, very important in the dumpster business. At the end of the day, the dumpster business is a service business. So your dumpster business is all about service. Customer service is so important to this business. In order to grow a good dumpster business and have repeat clients, you have to be able to provide good customer service at all times. The next thing you have to be willing to do is run a legitimate dumpster business. In order to maintain a long-term dumpster business and profitability, you have to be honest with yourself. You can't cut corners. You have to be legitimate. You have to have the right insurance and all of your ducks in a row in order to maintain your business for the long term. If you're not willing to spend that extra money, even though it's coming directly out of your pocket, this business might not be for you. If you do not have some of those qualities, that doesn't mean you're automatically not able to do the dumpster business. You're going to have to work on those things, and you're going to have to learn. And when you start, nobody's perfect. But you got to be willing to learn those things and just progress and constantly try to get better. One big thing is knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. With your strengths, you need to concentrate on those. And your weaknesses, you may need to find somebody else to do those types of tasks, whether that's advertising, answering the phone, taxes, for example. I'm not a tax expert. I hire somebody for that. I am good enough at marketing and advertising that I dabble in it, but a lot of those things you might need to hire out, and those are going to be extra costs. These are things that you can learn, but you have to be honest with yourself and understand where your time is best spent. Now, if you're looking to start a dumpster business in 2024, you have to understand that the market today in 2024 is so much different than it was in 2020 or 2021, and it's constantly changing. There's a lot of new guys in the business, but that shouldn't scare you away. It's just going to make it a little bit more difficult for you to gain market share. The reason for this is because there's a lot of new guys in the business that are doing really, really well, and they're filling the niche that your business would be filling if you started it. Now, this is not to dissuade you, but you have to understand that it will make it a little bit harder, and you will have to hustle a little bit harder to gain business in 2024 than you would have a couple of years ago. The next thing is it's going to cost a lot more, potentially, for you to start your dumpster business. Advertising is more expensive, and it's the reason for that is because there is more competition, so you're going to have to pay a little bit more in advertising to get a new customer versus what you would have a few years ago. Equipment is more expensive. Inflation obviously took care of that. Insurance is more expensive. Financing. If you are financing through a bank, interest rates are a lot higher. Now, again, these are not things that should dissuade you, but these are all factors in whether you should start a dumpster business or not. You need to do a lot of research, and I think a lot of people skip this step. They get really excited and maybe listen to a guy like me and just decide, hey, I'm going to do what he does in Florida or California or whatever. You have to understand your market and what your expectations are for the dumpster business. One way that you can shortcut some of these things is by doing consultations or getting a mentor. And consultations, I do consultations, lots of other people do consultations, and I can pretty much dive into your market and tell you kind of what to expect, what to charge, and how to advertise, at least when you're starting. And this can save you a lot of headache, a lot of money, and a lot of time. The dumpster business has always been and will always be very capital intensive. So when you're starting, you have to be willing to scale to a certain level to truly maximize your potential. I recommend that, I think in most markets and for most people, in order to pay your bills and profit and pay yourself at the end of the year, I think you need anywhere from 6 to 12 dumpsters in order to truly make a living. Now, this is not going to happen overnight, and you have to be willing to potentially make no money or even lose money for some period of time. I think another thing that you should really think about before you start a dumpster business is, number one, your branding. Your name and your branding is very important, and it does cost money, but your brand, if created properly, will save you money in the long run. But this is an upfront cost that I think a lot of people skip when they're starting. And I think in the long term, this will actually hurt you. But there's so many creative and a lot of times free ways to get dumpster clients that people aren't taking advantage of. And I think if you spend time doing some of these creative things, I think in the long run that will pay off. And a lot of people are just concentrated on Google ads and SEO and websites and stuff like that. Now, all that stuff is important, but I think there's a lot of creative ways out there when you're first starting that you need to think about or try to figure out how to get customers in those ways. They will pay off in the long run. I think one trap that a lot of people fall into when starting a dumpster business is with a small amount of dumpsters and with quite a lot of startup costs, what they do is they move into a market and they immediately become the cheapest dumpster around. I think that is terrible to do. I don't think you should necessarily be the most expensive around, but a lot of these guys only have 3 or 4 dumpsters. They're constantly sold out and they're the cheapest. I think that is detrimental to your business in the long run. If anything, when you're first starting, you want to start high and work your way down to the point, price-wise, where people start renting your dumpsters, and try to maximize that profit so that you can grow that business to a sustainable size. A lot of this really goes into knowing your numbers. And if you are running a legitimate business, you really have to know all of your numbers. You have to know your overhead cost and your true costs to the business in order to dictate your price and know, what kind of profit or loss you would be making on a dumpster. The other thing that people don't figure in when starting a business like this is you have to figure in, no matter what you're paying yourself, in order to figure out your true profit and loss on a dumpster, you have to, even if you aren't paying yourself, you have to figure in labor costs. The other thing I think a lot of people forget is if they aren't financed, they own the truck, and they bought dumpsters in a trailer or whatever cash, they don't figure that cash that they invested into the business into their overhead. Let's make sure that we're looking at the business as if we were financed. So say you put $10,000 into the business for a truck and you paid cash. Let's figure $500 a month for that truck coming back to you. You don't have to give it back to yourself, but let's just pretend, for the sake of numbers, that we do have a loan on that truck. I think a lot of people miss this, and this is why they think they're making more money than they are. And then when that truck explodes and it's time to go buy a new one, they realize that they forgot that cost. I think another big factor when it comes to starting a dumpster business is people think that they just have a website, they get a Google My Business, some dumpsters, and the phone starts ringing. That's not really how it works. There are instances of that, but in order to create a good long-term dumpster business that's going to maintain profitability, I think in the beginning, if you're really serious about it, you really need to look into websites professionally built, SEO, Google reviews, and things like that, and how you're going to achieve that. The other thing is just being efficient and not forgetting, pickups, drop-offs, things like that. Now this year I'm working with Docket, and they are sponsoring the channel. What Docket is basically a one-stop shop for your dumpster business. What it does is it's going to keep track of all your dumpsters, all your clients, emails. It takes care of all your payments, online booking, website building, and they do local SEO, all for one affordable monthly fee. I think this is really important. Maybe not right away if you're starting with 1 or 2 dumpsters, but in order to create a business, you have to have these systems in place. And by having a good website with online booking, that's going to help a lot. The SEO is going to help you rank higher in your area on Google. And then this is just also going to create a better experience for your customers in many ways. The next thing is Google reviews. You need to be asking for Google reviews. The Google reviews are going to help your Google My Business and website and everything rank higher, and they can be difficult to get, and it takes time. So this is the long game we're playing here. And one thing that Docket does is they'll help automate some of the Google reviews for all of your customers. That way the customers that you don't see, you forget to ask, whatever, they're getting reminded to put those reviews out there for you. If you're interested in a new one or an existing business, there's a link down below, and click on that link, fill out a form, and completely free, they will give you a complete walkthrough and show you why Docket will definitely bring your dumpster business to the next level. Overall, to start a dumpster business in 2024, the answer is definitely yes, but you have to understand all these things that I've just talked about. Whether you're good at them or not, you can work on those things that you're not good at, or hire those things out and concentrate on the things that you are good at. Obviously, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, and I've made some of these mistakes myself. But you got to be tough in business. You got to be tough. That's all I can say. And don't ever think it's going to be easy. It's not. And if it is, well, God bless. I'm happy for you. But hard times will happen, and just like they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. We will see you on the next one.